Morning, everyone. Secretary, please call the roll.
Trustee Kimbrough,
Present.
trustee Mailer,
Present.
trustee O'Malley is absent, trustee Rainey is absent, trustee Rowe.
Here.
You have a quorum.
We have a quorum. I call the meeting to order. The minutes for the September 12th, 2025 Audit Committee meeting and Audit Committee executive session were circulated in advance. Are there any corrections or additions to the minutes? Hearing none, I move to approve the minutes as written.
Second.
Is there a second? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please signify by saying nay. The minutes are approved. There are 4 information items for the committee to consider. Item A, information technology update. Dr. Sherry Loudermilk, Chief Information Officer, will provide information about this item.
Thank you, Trustee Mueller. Good morning, everyone. I'm here today to provide an information technology security update. The primary reason I'm presenting today is in support of the Graham-Leach-Bliley Act, or GLBA. This is a federal law that controls how financial institutions deal with the private information of individuals. This law applies to higher education and Austin Peay because our students receive federal financial aid. The GLBA contains a safeguards rule that stipulates that we have to implement security programs to protect financial data. It also says that the institution needs to designate a qualified individual to oversee its security program, and that person has to report to the board annually. So I'm here to provide the annual update on what the IT department is doing to uphold GLBA. First of all, for our annual updates, IT has updated our risk register. This is a listing of possible security risks our institution faces and mitigation strategies for those risks. We've conducted a tabletop exercise of a cyber incident and used it to update our cyber incident response plan. We've conducted a tabletop exercise of a disaster, and we've used that to update our disaster recovery plan. We have an information security program document in place that defines how we comply with the GLBA safeguards rule requirements. We've completed the National Cybersecurity Review for the Tennessee Strategic Technology Solutions Division, and this is basically a review of the cybersecurity controls we have in place, and it gives us access to request state and federal grants for cyber initiatives. We've had our employees complete the mandatory information security training that GLBA requires. This is the 5th year of the program, and we had a 94% completion rate. We removed account access for the individuals who didn't complete training, and they have to complete the training in order to have their account access restored. We had a network penetration test completed by a third party, and we are working to remediate all of the findings from that test. And then finally, we completed the cyber quotient assessment for the Tennessee Treasury. This reviews our cyber risk exposure, and completion of it allows us to qualify for cyber insurance through the state. We've also added some new controls in 2025. We've added cybersecurity awareness training for university affiliates, and this is the same training that our employees complete. We've also automated the process for managing the accounts of individuals who are late completing their security awareness training. So now if a person doesn't complete their security training by the required completion date, their account is automatically restricted so that the only thing they can sign into is the security training portal to complete their training. Then when they complete their training, their access to the other APSU systems is automatically reinstated. That's been a big time saver for our staff. And then finally, we also merged the employee and student Microsoft tenants, and that gives us the ability to better monitor the security of our student Microsoft accounts. So that is my update for the year. Does anybody have any questions for me?
Thank you, Dr. Loudermilk. Are there any questions for Dr. Loudermilk or any discussion about this IT update? None. This is an information item and requires no action. Item B, internal audit reports released between August 15th, 2025 and November 6th, 2025, and list of outstanding audit recommendations. Mr. Blaine Clements, Chief Audit Officer, will provide information about this item.
Good morning. We did 3 audits. We released 3 audits this quarter. You'll see a trend. 2 of the 3 have to do with IT. So as me and Trustee Mueller talk, on our one-on-ones, we want to make sure that Beth and I are in the IT department looking at what they do. So you might recall, we've looked at the accuracy, integrity of the enrollment data that the state uses for the funding formula. We've also looked at their department briefly as a holistic departmental audit. And this quarter is no different. We looked at their technology access fees. That is fees that this board approves, that the first 10 hours that a student is here, that fee applies. It's about $2 million a year. That fee is designated to be helping students with technology, classrooms, computer labs, software, things of that nature. That spend is overseen by Jerry and a committee made of people from across campus. So we wanted to make sure that that was being spent appropriately, and it was. That review has no reportable issues, no findings. The second one is the cyber incident response plan, which Sherry mentioned earlier. We wanted to look at it to make sure that it is meshing well with industry standards. So we did that. That's not just the plan, but it is also how do they train employees like us? How do they keep trained to be aware of threats? What resources do they have? That kind of a thing. And we had no findings regarding that plan. And then the last is not related to IT, but it's an audit of the president's office. There is a state law that says the university has to have a policy to have an expense schedule of all the president's office expenses. There's also a law that says, a different law that says that has to be audited every year. So this is something this committee is familiar with and had no findings. I will say that in that report in your materials is a summary expense schedule. Behind that are schedules that we don't provide you just because it gets really voluminous, but those are available should you want to see those. And then the last thing is the list of outstanding audit recommendations that we are working on. I do want to make sure that everyone knows that no findings in our report doesn't mean that we went through the audit and found nothing, right? When we write these reports, me and Beth, the audience are you, the president, the VP, and not everything we feel rises to the level that needs your attention. So we do have other opportunities for improvement that we note, that we communicate in a letter. Right now we're sitting at 45 of those this year, which is higher than normal. Not a numbers guy, but I think it's because we're looking at areas that we've never looked at before. I don't think it's anything that's bad. I think it's just because it's something that's unfamiliar and doesn't get hit a lot. I'd be happy to answer any questions about the reports of the outstanding items.
Thank you, Mr. Clements. Are there any questions for Mr. Clements or discussion about the internal audit reports? This is an information item and requires no action. Item C, independence and confidentiality. Mr. Clements will provide information about this item.
Yes, so there's a state law that says the Office of Internal Audit has to comply with the mandatory guidance of the Institute of Internal Auditors. It's a globally recognized industry leader for us. And those guidance requires that I speak to you occasionally about the values of independence and objectivity, right? So objectivity refers to me and Beth's unbiased mindset when we're doing our job, right? So we do that every day. We have checks and balances and talk to each other to make sure that we are maintaining that objectivity. Independence is more structural, right? That's why I have a dotted line to this committee. That allows me to have the independence to audit the president every year. Beth does that, by the way, so I push that even farther away from me. So she does that to try to maintain that bright line when we can. These principles of independence and objectivity are in your charter, in the audit committee charter, they're in the internal audit charter, they're in our policy, they're in our annual, they're everywhere we can find to put them in, because they're important, and I get audited every 5 years to make sure I'm compliant. So I want to make sure I have those in numerous places. And of course, if independence or objectivity is ever impaired, whether in fact or appearance, we have to deal with it. We have to disclose it. And that could be a conflict of interest, a scope limitation, restrictions to records, resource constraints, things of that nature that I've not experienced here. So I don't have anything to report as far as that goes. But I'm happy to answer any questions you might have about these two values.
Secretary is correcting me
Oh.
in that it was not confidentiality, it was objectivity, which you covered in great detail. Thank you, Mr. Clements. Are there any questions for Mr. Clements or discussion about independence and objectivity.
Madam Chairman, I think one of the things about, this may not be the most glamorous thing in the world, but it may be one of the most important, because you want to make sure that everything is on the up and up, that people trust what you're doing and what's going on. And I think having all those eyes on everything is a really good thing to do. It protects the president, it protects you, protects the university, protects the reputation of the university. So I appreciate what you do. As I said, it's not like watching the team score a touchdown, but it's headlines if we get this wrong. So I just want to point that out, how important what you do is.
This is an information item and requires no action if there are no further questions. Item D, Clery Act Annual Security and Fire Safety Report for 2025 update. Dr. Sharush Rupawar, Vice President for Finance Administration, will provide information about this item.
Hello, Board Chair Rowe, Committee Chair Mueller, Audit Committee. Today I'm presenting the university's annual Clery Act report. This report is a federal requirement under the Jean Clery Disclosure of Campus Security Policy and Campus Crime Statistics Act. Its purpose is to ensure transparency about campus safety by providing accurate data on crimes reported on or near our campus, as well as outlining our security policies and procedures. Compliance with the Clery Act is a legal obligation tied to federal funding. Beyond compliance, it reflects our commitment to the safety and well-being of our students, faculty, and staff. The report helps us identify trends, allocate resources effectively, and maintain trust within our community. It also demonstrates to prospective students and families that we prioritize a secure learning environment. In short, this report is both a regulatory requirement and a cornerstone of our responsibility to provide a safe campus. Report materials include a copy of the annual report issued in October. Our incidents are random and without pattern. The year-over-year increase in certain areas is primarily attributable to population growth, which increases the number of occurrences. I'm joined here with our Chief of Police, Christy Winters, and we can answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Dr. Rupawar. Are there any questions for him or discussion about the update on the Clery Act Annual Fire and Safety Report for 2025?
I have one. Every university has different opportunities and challenges, location, student body, et cetera. Does the university compare itself per student for a safety report compared to the other universities in the state or in Kentucky? How do we run it? So we can say, okay, Austin P has this performance, MTSU has this or something. And as we look at how we're doing, but also as we market just to prospective students.
You know, it's difficult to make an apples to apples comparison of schools because as the report goes, it's to the geographic region of the university. So it's anything within our perimeter between College and Ferris. So anybody passing through campus, through the city streets that could be pulled over, commit a crime, also goes in this report because it technically happens within our perimeter.
Sure.
So it's kind of hard to say how we compare to other areas. It's easier to just compare towards metropolis size. And so the size of Clarksville comparative for another city, say Cookville, we would be on par.
Okay, thank you. And that's why I said it is difficult to compare universities. Each has their own demographics, their own challenges and opportunities. But I just wondered how Austin P would compare relative to the same type of university. Thank you.
Any further questions? This is an information item and requires no action. This concludes the agenda, and I move that the public portion of the Audit Committee meeting adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. The ayes have it. The meeting is adjourned at 09:25. Everyone other than the trustees, board staff, and audit staff is asked to clear the room for the non-public executive session of the Audit Committee. Thank you.